Welcome into Believe in Commanders, another victory pod that is back to back, and 5 out of the last 6 have been victory pods. Love to hear that, love to see that, love to say that. So, AAA, how are we doing on a Victory Monday? What a good day.
Victory Monday is always good. You got a nice warm cup of coffee here. Shout out to the NFL Total Wellness folks with this
All
quarter five
right.
mug. Everything's good. 5 out of the last 6 could have easily been 6 out of the last 6. I am enjoying this Victory Monday.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about what the Commanders did well. They absolutely dominated Houston. Talk a little bit about the quarterback position, and we did not see Chase Young in Houston. So when will we see him? But before all that, we got to talk about our guys at Bet Online who help to bring you the show every single time. AAA, tell us about them.
Yes, indeed. BetOnline is the place to be, and basketball is back, and it's going to remain your number one source for all of your sports betting needs this season. You're going to find all the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline, it features your live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's the NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, World Cup, soccer, tennis, boxing, or even golf. You can head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus when you use our code BELIEVE, BLEAV. That's going to give you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So Bet Online, that's where the game starts. Make sure you check that place out. It's awesome. Thanks to those guys for being a sponsor.
Absolutely. And so where did the game start? Game started off pretty quick for the Commanders, a pick six by Kendall Fuller, and the game was off and running. So that was the story of the game yesterday for me, was the defense was absolutely dominant. Dameon Pierce was nowhere to be found. I think he had, 8 yards on 10 carries. Nothing happened. Nobody did anything for the Houston offense, and that Commanders defense looked scary. And it looked like the defense that we've been hoping for and wishing for since these first round picks came into the league, and it looks like they're putting it together at a pretty good time.
They really are, and it's scary that you still have a few, tools and toys on the shelf that haven't made their way back out. We'll talk about that later, but that was an absolutely dominating performance. I went back and listened to our preview show for Houston, and I was like, check.
Yep.
Check, dominate against Kenyon Green. Check, make it hard on them to run. Check. They did exactly. They must have listened. They must have listened to the pod. So shout out to the Commanders for listening in.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about the whole time. I was like, John Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat are eating up this offensive line, and it seemed like the few times that the Texans were able to get a positive play, there was a yellow hanky on the field as well. They were holding on for dear life, trying to stop that defensive line, and they were not able to. And man, that was fun. It was one of those. I was getting a little nervous. The offense was a little slow going at first, which we've seen from this team before, but I never felt like this game was in question. I felt like this team dominated from start to finish, and it's not often, or at least not recently, it's not usual for this team to do that. So that felt good to see that happen yesterday.
Yeah, I will say that overall the offense. I want to say this. I was thinking yesterday. Me personally, I'm going to be positive when things are overtly negative. I want to find ways to build and grow. And then when things are very positive, I'm going to try to be a little bit critical. I want to be not negative. I want to find some areas to improve. And
Sure.
Looking at yesterday's game, the area that gave me a little bit of concern is that the offense wasn't finishing those drives with touchdowns. They got 3 or 4 field goals. I think it was 3 field goals. So, yes, they were able to dominate the game. The defense did all the heavy lifting. I would have loved to have seen some touchdowns, some red zone touchdowns, finishing some of those long drives. That would have really put this game away a lot earlier. But if I'm having to be very critical, it's just the red zone offense didn't step up and didn't show up like it had been. It has been some recent success, but they didn't have any success on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that there was some questionable play calling. I don't want to get all nitpicky. I'm with you, but yeah, they certainly should have finished a couple of those drives. It was kind of the same thing with Philly. A couple times they kind of stalled out when they could have really gone up by 2 touchdowns against Philly. against the Texans, it doesn't hurt as bad, but yeah, there was no reason why they shouldn't have been up 28-0 at halftime as opposed to 20-0. You're saying, well, 8 points, we nitpicking? Well, against the Texans, it's not going to matter. No offense to those guys. They're 1-8-1, but coming up against the Falcons, coming up against some of these NFC teams that you have to beat, yeah, I want those 8 points. I don't want to leave any points out there on the field. So I'm with you. I think that's the issue, or the one problem from yesterday. And so correcting that, and hopefully that's corrected moving forward. But a solid performance all around. What, obviously the defense, but what were some specific key takeaways that you had, if you had to go dive in real deep to take away from this victory?
Man, we did speak on the defense. I would just say the defense playing as an overall unit. All levels are just showing up and making plays. The secondary, once everybody we had circled the safety position. We're like, what are they going to do at safety? We mentioned that using the Defoe and Cam Curl combination could be something special, and it's shown to be true. So hat tip to us, man, fist bump.
That's right.
So that's really come to be something special. Those two guys, top 2 rated safeties in the league, according to what Pro Football Focus, I think it is. So those things, I think that being able to show up and play at this level when this could have easily been a game where you dip down to your opponent's level. It's good to see Washington raise their level of play going against a subpar opponent.
Yeah, we were saying in the lead up that they were saying all the right things, but Sunday would have been about that. They had to go out and do it, and for the most part, they certainly did. And they were led by that defense. When the offense wasn't getting going, obviously the defense scored on a pick six. It was great to see Kendall Fuller have that as a pick six. I feel like he has kind of been criticized, depending on who you look at on Twitter. But man, that guy has been balling ever since. I hate to keep going back to him, not piling on the guy, but ever since the William Jackson tweak and the kind of removing him from the lineup, I think a lot of guys have really found their niche, and yeah, it's been impressive. Derek Forrest just refuses to give up the football. I mean, he refuses to be in a bad spot. He's always around the football. It's so fun to see for a guy in his second year, and you could. He played in spots last year, but this is basically his rookie season on the defense. He was largely like a special teams kind of third safety guy last year. I mean, you can almost say that he is still kind of a rookie, and man, has he been impressive. His third pick of the season, second in as many games. I mean, St. Juice was, he got his hand up to start that interception. So yeah, secondary defensive line, everybody was in the right spot, and that was fun to see.
They really were. I mean, defensive line got 5 sacks total, 2 for John Allen, 2 for Montez Sweat had 2. I think Deron Payne got 1 as well. Yep. So that interior of that defensive line, just absolutely amazing. Great turnout for them. Got to keep your eyes on St. Juice injury.
Yes.
He went out. I think it was an ankle. I know I heard listening, they were saying, oh, he got him kind of wobbly. And my first envision was like a wooziness. And I was like, hope it isn't a head. Hope he didn't get like a head injury, but it said it was an ankle. So hopefully he ends up being okay. Cause he's been extremely, he's stepped up to every challenge.
Yeah.
He's getting tested every single week. Cause I mean, you got to choose Kendall Fuller, even though he got his first career interception, pick 6 for Kendall Fuller.
Nice.
Shout out to that. But BSJ's really stepped up to the challenge because people are going to try him. He's going to get tested because they're like, well, we don't want to go against him. Let's go against the rookie. And he's actually making a lot of plays. And him and Derek Forrest, those two guys are really worth their weight in gold right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that we talked about, I think we just kind of nailed this game on the head pretty easily this week, which is fun to say that we did. Hopefully we continue to nail these games on the head and continue to pile up wins. But we said that this secondary overall is not too experienced. Obviously, Kendall Fuller's been around, Bobby McCain has been around, but then you got Cam Curl, Benjamin St. Juice, and Derek Forrest, all guys in their first 3-4 years in the league, a couple guys in their second year. It is impressive to see that these young guys are being targeted and coming up with the ball more often than not, and coming up with a stop more often than not. And so, yeah, keep that up, and hopefully that continues to be the recipe. the cohesiveness of this defense. The defensive line is pushing the offensive line into the quarterback's lap, making him make these bad throws. There are times when there's a coverage sack that, they're blanketing the receivers. Like, it's all going really well. And so hopefully they can keep that up, not get too high on themselves, but keep that up moving forward.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about the defense is that it's this choreography of just everybody. It's like everybody's connected by a chain. You got to imagine, let's say you have on like a belt and you're connected by these elastic bands, and the way the secondary drops, and like those things matter to being able to cover the field appropriately. And you talked about ever since William Jackson had been removed from the lineup, things have been better. You got to think that if he's a man-to-man guy, he probably was too much locked on one person, and then that chain gets out of whack,
right,
and leaves big open zones, and then the defense looks inept, and there's a lot of people that are pointing. So now you have a player that can do the things that you're asking the defense to do, and then Benjamin St-Juste, and now everybody is moving at a cohesive unit. You got one sound voice from Cam Curl. He's able to get everybody directed properly. Now you got a defense that looks special. Ain't nobody piling on Jack Del Rio right now. Things are rolling. This is this is 6 games in a row with a turnover. They hadn't had one since week 1.
Yeah.
This defense is on a roll, and they're at the right time, especially with the way the NFC East is going.
Yeah, they got it. They got to keep that up, and we've talked about it, that the season is right there in front of them. They got some NFC matchups coming up with the Falcons, the Giants, 49ers. They got the Cowboys again. So yeah, all these games matter, and those are when you want to be playing your best football. So if they're hitting their stride, I hope it continues, and I hope it continues well into December, into January, because I like what I'm seeing, especially from this defense. Moving over to the offense, unless you had any last second points on the defense. One, feel bad for the guy. John Bostic somehow ended up on Brandon Cooks for like a 45-yard play. I don't think that happens normally. I feel bad for any linebacker who has to cover Brandon Cooks, but that was one of the sour points for the defense on a otherwise pretty spectacular day. So hopefully Cole Holcomb is getting healthy. He hasn't practiced in a while, but it would be nice to have him and Jameis out there, Jamin Davis, kind of mixed up his names there. So we'll see, a couple guys, like you said, that we're hoping to get back sooner rather than later. We'll talk about that in a second, but moving over to the offensive side of the ball, Taylor Heinicke, again, just did enough. He did enough to get the win. Didn't turn the ball over. A couple times early, he put the ball in harm's way, but he settled down a little bit. They scored on the Curtis Samuel touchdown, added a couple of field goals. We mentioned that the red zone kind of sputtered out a little bit, but he's got the confidence of Ron Rivera moving forward. He is the starter until this thing falls off, until this train falls off the tracks. What are your thoughts on that decision? I don't think it surprises us, but what does it mean to have your coach come out and say it?
Oh, I think it definitely solidifies. I mean, you put the stamp on there, the vote of approval, if you will, and it's something that needed to be done. I mean, we all knew it. We all knew it. There's some people that were still out there saying, "Oh, you got to make the switch back," but I'm telling you, a lot of times you just got to go with the hot hand and just let it ride as is. If you have, you know how it is. You got the TV and you got to hold the antenna a certain way to get the reception. Right now, the reception is good. And you do not want to move. It's like, don't get up from there. Yeah. Everything is good right now. So that's what you got to think about. So having Taylor being the starter, it's the right decision. And I'm glad that Ron went ahead and said it. He said he earned it through winning, because that's the obvious truth. And as long as things look good going forward, I mean, I'm happy that they made that decision. I mean, especially going back to our conversation in the spring with him, he's definitely earned it. And I know that he's been prepared every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy has done this before. He stepped in a pinch. The moment is not too big for him. You see some backup quarterbacks, they don't expect to actually get in the game. So when they actually do, it kind of catches them off guard. But Taylor, he might not do everything. He might be limited in his arm and his play and all of that, but he is not going to shy away from the moment. So I love to see that. So he finally not finally, he's getting his chance. They're giving him the confidence. Like, this is, yes, he came into a situation where the quarterback was injured. We've seen him do that. We saw him do that last year with Ryan Fitzpatrick. But right now, he is the guy. And even if Carson Wentz comes back healthy, even if Carson Wentz, is back in the fold, Ron Rivera is sticking with the guy who is getting him wins, and it's the smart thing to do right now. And so that's really fun to see. And I've talked about that. We've talked to him. I've talked about that he's gone to. We went to the same high school. I've always been a fan of the guy, but it's really cool to see him getting the chance to prove himself. And they're sitting at 6-5 with everything in front of them. He's got a chance to do something special. And I know they say until the wheels fall off or things start to go sour, but man, I'm hoping they don't, because this is a fun ride so far.
It is. It's been exciting. There's always something going on. But I can say I like that whenever there's winning, it kind of drowns out all the other stuff that's going on. You haven't heard much about anything negative around the team, even though it's still happening. And it's very important. They got to make sure they get those things handled. But I'm glad that we're able to focus on wins on the field. Taylor's going to be able to bring some more of those, ideally. Tough NFC East, too. I mean, the NFC East a couple teams took L's. Philly lost. Yeah. Oh, no, Philly won.
Philly came back.
It was very close.
Yeah, barely. I think I really do think that the Commanders showed something, that a recipe to beat them. And so, kudos to them for responding. A win is a win, but I think that they're not as big and bad and scary as they were 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Dallas looked like an absolute machine against the Vikings.
Yeah, I think Washington gave Dallas a recipe. I mean, there was a lot of pressure and a lot of, things that Washington did well against Minnesota that just came up short. So,
right.
7 sacks by Dallas. Those guys are crazy.
And then the Giants lose to the Lions. So I mean, you're winning. You're right back in. I still don't think the division is in reach. Unfortunately, you start off 1-4. It's hard to get that, but you're right back in the thick of things with everything else. You still, I mean, we say the division's not in reach. You still have 3 more division games. So it's all right there in front of you. And if Heinicke is the guy, you ride that wave.
Absolutely. I mean, shoot. Yeah, with 7 teams making it from either side, there's plenty of room for anybody to get in. So right now it's all Belichick mode, right? We just want to get into the tournament, and they are right on the cusp. But the best thing about it is that that you're going to have Chase Young coming back eventually.
Yes.
When is it going to happen? Who knows? But hopefully soon. I heard they were talking about it on the show, on the radio broadcast. They had Julie Donaldson had asked Coach Del Rio, and they were talking about when does he go out there, and she said he had don't want to put him out there unless he's mentally ready. That's something that kind of stood out. We've talked about him being physically ready, and all of those being a big thing, but it's that mentality part that a lot of people don't think about. And as an athlete, I mean, if I pulled a hamstring and that you got to go back and run full speed, you may hold back a little bit. You're worried that next stride is going to pull again. So with his injury, he had to think about a lot of situations where, am I ready to actually go and take this on?
Yeah, I've thankfully never had a serious injury, but I've always heard that, especially with an ACL, a lot of it is that mental capacity. I mean, physically, that it's repaired, right? But it's that, like you're saying, like one step. Am I good to take that, little shift there? Am I always overthinking when a guy's like down near my knees? So it's interesting to see. And I keep saying it. Kudos to the team for slow playing this. I think that given, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, when we were 1-4 and you're looking for a shot in the arm, they certainly would have thrown a guy out there before he was ready. And we kind of, maybe over the summer, kind of criticized, or I heard fans criticize, about Curtis Samuel slow playing that. Jahan Dotson was out for a while. This team is doing everything right by its players, and it's lending me to believe that it's going to pay off for them in the long run. So I'm okay playing it super slow.
Yeah, at a point in the season where teams are, scrambling to find free agents to fill in for injuries.
Right.
Washington is setting themselves up to have people return.
Yeah.
Which is really good, And I've mentioned before, you already know the first play that Chase Young is in, somebody is going to throw a cut block at his knees.
Yep.
And it's not meant to be dirty. It's just seriously a test to say, are you ready? And if he plays it like you want him to play, and he's physical and it doesn't bother him, then you're gonna know. That's when he knows. It's gonna be a thing that he's gonna have to realize. He's gonna know when he's ready.
Well, and
No rush though.
look at the immediate future coming up for this team too. They're facing the Falcons this Sunday, who love to run the ball. They're facing the Giants in back-to-back games. The bye in between. They got Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida scored as well. They love to run the ball. Their quarterback loves to run the ball. Then you got the 49ers eventually. I don't know the order of the schedule, but that Kyle Shanahan loves to run the ball. You still got one more with the Cowboys, who have a two-headed monster at running back. So that's at least 5 games where you could argue that those are teams that just love to run the football. And you got to imagine if 99 is out there, they're going to absolutely try to find him. And like you said, not a dirty play, but go after him and make sure that he is his sound. And he's got to be ready, and he's got to be able to take those hits. And so if it is a mental thing, it's okay to give him a couple of weeks. However, they only have until Wednesday, the 23rd, to activate him, or he's done for the season. I feel like they certainly activate him. Whether or not he plays right away, whether or not he plays Sunday, could be a different question. But I certainly think he's going to play this season. What about you?
Well, shoot, if you have to do it by the 23rd, I think that you definitely do it by the 23rd. Wasn't aware of that little caveat.
So it's the I don't know how long ago it happened, but you have the 3-week window once he's able to practice. So, he came off the IR, quote unquote, however long ago, beginning of November, whatever it is. But he has the 3-week window where they can say, hey, we don't think you're ready, and shut him down for the season. Otherwise, they have to activate him. So I think they activate him. However, I don't think it's a slam dunk necessarily that he plays against the Falcons. But, I mean, we'll see that later on in the week. But that is one little asterisk in there for this whole conversation.
I got you. I mean, hey, if that's the case, yes, you activate him. The downside is they have to say, well, what position are we going to lose from? Because they're going to have to probably drop a guy. But they'll be good at understanding how to bring somebody down. There's probably a guy that they had just elevated from the practice squad. That'll be the person that has to go back down. So good point, though. Good to bring that up. Wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the clock in the background. So I guess we're gonna record our preview podcast for the Falcons on Friday, right? Let everybody enjoy their Thanksgiving. I hope you guys all have a great time with your family. Enjoy being 6-5.
I have a question though for you.
Okay. So we're gonna record on Friday. Hopefully we get some more news. We'll hear by Wednesday if he is activated. We'll see about playing. So later on in the week we'll answer a lot of these questions. But back to you.
All right, question for you. Thanksgiving is around the corner, sir. I want to know. Is it dressing or is it stuffing? What do you call it? So,
based on the definition, right? Stuffing goes in the turkey. That's what I've always heard. But for as I was growing up, it was always called stuffing. So I've always called it stuffing, even though it doesn't necessarily go into the turkey at my house. But I've always called it stuffing. What about you?
It's dressing on this side, my man. It is dressing. Now, I was a little bit thrown off when I got older and realized that my mom does use some of the stuffing in the whole mix to make the dressing, but it's always been called dressing. Mm-hmm. So everybody's like, "Oh, but it's stuffing and this." But to me, it's dressing. You got to do dressing. Get a little cranberry sauce, a little giblet gravy on top of there.
I like it.
Some greens, a ham, a turkey. Ooh, I can taste it already.
All right, so here's a question for you. We had a one side of the family Thanksgiving early this week. We got the real run of show on Thursday, obviously. When do you guys typically eat? Are you an early afternoon lunch type? Are you a dinner type? Are you an in between so it holds you over well into the night type? When do you eat typically on Thursday?
If it's my side of the family, it's gonna be like a 2 o'clock, kind of right in line where generally, I live in Dallas. So we grew up Cowboys fans. So it was going to be around the game time, right? So the game started at 12. You can watch the game a little bit. Food's ready, go eat, nap, wake up, eat some more, keep going. If it's on the wife's side of the family, generally they got the late stuff, evening stuff, about 7 o'clock. So
Whoa, that is super
That
late
is
though.
late, ain't it?
Yeah.
It is late because even the holiday dinner ones, like Christmas, is around that 2 o'clock time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Two is a sweet spot for me, but my family is full of people that are, what's a nice way to put it? Time optimists. They think that
Hmm.
they have more time than they actually do. So we're like, yeah, two sounds great, and it ends up being closer to 4 or 5. So I would love that 2 window there, but I know deep down in my heart that the Lions Bills game will be over before I'm eating. So
See, no, see, that's a party foul. That is a party foul. If y'all look, I'm telling you, hey, ain't if you saying that, hey, the time that you give out is the time that we eating. Okay,
right,
say, hey, look, we eating at 2. All
yeah,
right, we eating at 2. Now, if it's arrive at 2, food ready at 5, I'm gonna get there about 4:30. It ain't
mm-hmm,
gonna be rude, but I'm gonna get
yeah,
there a little bit closer too. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? What time are we eating? That
Yeah.
is the ultimate question that you need to adhere to. So
Well, I think the frustrating thing is, and obviously this is what everybody tuned in to Believe in Commanders for was Thanksgiving talk. I think the frustrating thing is everybody comes over in the morning, right? We want to try. My family at least wants to spend the whole day together. I don't know why, because we get sick of each other by early afternoon. However, everybody's there, so they're like, "Oh, we got plenty of time." And then all of a sudden, you realize a couple hours in, the day's almost gone. The Lions are wrapping up, getting blown out again on Thanksgiving, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the clock and it's 3 or 4 o'clock. The good thing is that it's typically just family, and I know you want to be polite to everybody, but I guess my family feels like you can wait. Or you can take your time when it's people that are in your family. But if we were having
nice.
strangers, I would definitely be an issue because we always are like an hour to 2 hours behind.
I got you. Okay, so yours is a slightly different situation, but yeah, we ain't doing people here over here all day.
Yeah.
Nah,
Okay.
there's a window. There's a window.
Okay. Well, so especially going back to Bet Online, got to put in some different sport parlays because you got the World Cup going on all day. You've got
That is
3
true.
football games all day. So be sure
Wow.
to use our code BELIEVE and get a 50% back on your welcome bonus because there's some fun stuff coming up. Just because football season is well under its way doesn't mean you don't have World Cup. Doesn't mean basketball is not getting going. So a lot of fun stuff to bet on there. Any
I think
closing?
yeah, I have one closing thought.
Okay.
I'm gonna go put me a little futures bet on Luka Doncic winning the MVP. I wonder what those odds are because I
Yeah.
think he's gonna do it. He's second fastest to 50 career triple doubles, only behind Oscar Robertson, and that's because I pay attention to Mavs Insider. It's a great show, so y'all should check that out. But go ahead, sir.
Sticking with NBA, living here in Atlanta, has there ever been, or at least recently, a more like win-win trade than the Trey Young, Luka Doncic? I mean, neither team lost that, at least not so far.
Not so far. I would feel like Dallas is a slight bit ahead, just because they made it to the. I guess Atlanta made it to the conference finals too,
Yeah,
huh?
that's what I'm saying. I mean,
It
I
is a
know,
tie.
I know. Eventually, one guy is gonna pass the other. I mean, that's just how basketball is. But right now, like, I think you'd take either guy. And I mean,
Yeah,
everybody can make an argument for both of them. But anyway,
yeah.
that's obviously a bit of chatter, I'm sure, there and as it is here in Atlanta.
Hey, look at it. Y'all getting a little extra. Look, get some other sports on the
That's
show. We might have
right.
to do this more often.
Yeah.
Add some other things in
We
there. That
we
is
you
all
know what we need
good.
to do is have like a 5 minute countdown and we just try to hit as many different sports topics after our commanders talk.
Look at that. Now that's the way to go about it. All
Yeah.
right. We'll do that. We'll do that. We'll add that into the show. Remember, I'll say this. We got to get up out of here.
Yeah,
We
that's
got
right.
the previewing at Atlanta is coming up later on in the week. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate it. If your picks hit, if you picked with us, let us know. If you picked
Yep.
against us, let us know. But we will catch y'all next week. This was obviously brought to you by Bet Online. Check us out everywhere. Tune in, radio, SiriusXM, all your favorite streaming platforms, y'all. We are there. It's Believe in Commanders. And I'm signing out. Brian, you
Yeah.
signing out?
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving and we'll talk to you guys later this week. Be good.
See ya.